In this video, I'm going to show you 3 ways how to debug your automations in GoHighLevel. My name is Gavin Wiener. I'm a top-rated freelancer. I help online coaches, consultants, and other agencies set up their sales funnels, their automations, and run their paid meta ads. And I've got 8 years experience in the space. When I jump into a new client's GoHighLevel account and they already have a lot of automations set up, there's a lot of things going on, it can be pretty tricky to making sure that everything is working as expected. So I'm going to show you 3 ways how I approach this. When you come into the automation screen for GoHighLevel, the filtering is not really good. It makes it very hard to even see what to run in, and also makes it very hard to even know what's triggering certain automations and what is happening in certain automations. So let's say we want to double check that our Meta-Capi API integrations are working correctly. We're sending the correct information back to Meta. So the question is, okay, I don't want to have to go through every single automation here. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we make use of the filters. So if you come into the filters here, you can see action type. So action type is what is happening in an automation. What is an automation doing? So I'm going to say is, and you just have to know what it is, Facebook conversion API. So in this case, it's going to show me all the automations that have the Facebook Meta integration. In this case, we don't have any. But let's say I want to see, okay, find me all of the automations that are sending a SMS. So I'll just literally say send SMS. And then it's going to find me all automations. Now, naturally, you need to go into the automation and then actually see what it's doing. But you at least aren't having to filter and sift through everything one by one. Okay, this one had that, that one had that. By default, if you come to the GoHighLevel screen, you can see here, we are using folders. Folders are great for organizing, but it makes it very hard to see at a glance what's actually going on because you have to click in, you have to actually then see the total enrolled, the active enrolled, last updated, created on. What I typically do is I always create a smart view for published, simply just turned on, and you're going to see why. When you filter by anything, it actually removes the folders. It just shows you the automations as is. So then if you wanted to, you could then also open up the stats. You can see total enrolled, active enrolled, etc., which you can't do when you have all the folders there. The second thing, a lot of the time when you're debugging, you want to know what's triggering automations. And in my case, the biggest things are often forms submitted, surveys being submitted, tags being added, because that's often what's triggering given automations. So you can see here already, I have a smart view for form submissions, but to show you this from the get-go, you've got trigger type. Trigger type is what starts the automations. And in many cases, I'm just trying to find all of the automations that are being triggered and started by things being submitted. So for example, I would have form submitted. I would have survey submitted. I would have, what else would I have? Appointment booked. I mean, you really can do whatever you want. But I often do this to see, okay, show me all the automations that are triggered based on a user taking an action, a lead taking an action, opting in for a form, completing a survey, booking an appointment. And that gives you a very quick and easy insight into, am I triggering all the relevant situations that I'm aware of? Do I have a form, do I have an automation that captures all of the different forms that I know I have, all the different surveys I have? Often when I'm going through a new account and I'm trying to understand what's working, it can also be tricky to go into the automations themselves and work out what's actually firing off based on that. So often what I do is I'll come into a contact and I'll just look at what is being sent off in the contact itself. So for example, if you check the details of a message, it will show you the workflow that is triggering that. So in that case, I will open up that workflow and I can see the automation. Also, you can see a history of all the automations that person has been through or they are currently in. And if you click that little icon there, it will take you to the actual workflow and the automation. So that helps me understand what's actually being used, because you can have lots of automations turned on, but a lot of them might not even be running because they're just not being triggered. So I find this is a good way of you go through 10, 20, 30 contacts and just see what automations are actually being triggered in the last 1 to 2 months. And that can help you turn off a lot of unnecessary automations. I showed you a couple of ways of how I, as an expert in automation and setting up systems like GHL, can debug all of the automations going on. How I do this more quickly, especially if I'm jumping into an account that already exists and there's a lot going on. So if you want help setting up your GHL, or you want help auditing your GHL so you can get more leads, more booked appointments from the system, you can just find a link in the description. You can schedule a time with me and we can talk about that. If you are just wondering, how do automations in general help a business grow? Well, you can check my other video that I've linked to, which will walk you through exactly how do automations actually play into a bigger system and how do they help you make more money.